When you get knocked down, get up, and everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity, no matter what, no matter who they are. Also that everyone should be represented. No one's better than me, and I'm no better than anyone else. The fact is, what we should be doing, we talked about the Supreme Court. I'm looking forward to making sure there's a black woman on the Supreme Court to make sure we, in fact, get every representation. Not a joke. Not a joke. I pushed very hard for that. And my mother's motto was, she said, you know, you're defined by your courage, you're redeemed by your loyalty. I am loyal. I do what I say.
And that's exactly what he did 2 years to the day after making that statement at the debate in South Carolina. Today, President Joe Biden spoke at the White House and nominated the first African-American woman to be on the United States Supreme Court.
It's my honor to introduce to the country a daughter of former public school teachers, a proven consensus builder, an accomplished lawyer, a distinguished jurist, one of the nation's most prestigious courts. My nominee for the United States Supreme Court is Judge Ketanji Jackson. For too long, our government, our courts, haven't looked like America. And I believe it's time that we have a court that reflects the full talents and greatness of our nation, with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications. And that we inspire all young people to believe that they can one day serve their country at the highest level. I've admired these traits of pragmatism, historical perspective, wisdom, character in the jurists nominated by Republican presidents as well as Democratic presidents. And today, I'm pleased to introduce to the American people a candidate who continues in this great tradition.
I share a birthday with the first Black woman ever to be appointed as a federal judge, the Honorable Constance Baker Motley. We were born exactly 49 years to the day apart. Today, I proudly stand on Judge Motley's shoulders, sharing not only her birthday, but also her steadfast and courageous commitment to equal justice under law. Judge Motley's life and career has been a true inspiration to me as I have pursued this professional path. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the next Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, I can only hope that my life and career, my love of this country and the Constitution, and my commitment to upholding the rule of law and the sacred principles upon which this great nation was founded will inspire future generations of Americans. Thank you again, Mr. President, for this extraordinary honor.
Folks, we're going to play more of what she had to say. She is indeed an historic appointee. Not only does she serve on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, which is considered to be the #2 court in all of the country, she is one of the nation's brightest legal minds. In addition to that, of course, she was appointed to the bench by President Barack Obama, and again, it's been confirmed twice by the United States Senate. Now, of course, that's kind of important because when you have folks who are all of a sudden whining, complaining about her qualifications, that's a little hard when they've actually voted for her before. We're going to break this down with a variety of voices. We're going to first start with Melanie Campbell. She's the president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, also convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Melanie, this has been certainly a day a lot of African Americans, but especially Black women, have been waiting for quite some time. In her remarks, Judge Jackson noted that her birthday, she shares it with Constance Baker Motley, the first African American woman appointed to the federal bench, separated by 49 years, and so that is one heck of a connection to history. We're not hearing you, Melanie.
My fault.
Now we got you. This
started out really early this morning. You know, all the rumors were floating around, and I tell you, Roland, I think I was more emotional about this appointment than when the vice president. Although that was also monumental. And I think it's because we know this will be a lifetime appointment. And no matter what the makeup of the court is today, as long as we hold on to the democracy that we have, the pendulum always swings. And so her opinions will matter in such a profound way. So it's been a very emotional day, very exciting, and also ready to roll up our sleeves. Today, we had to also keep pushing back on some of those negatives, but it's a blessed day for this country that this is happening. And I know you have nieces, and I do too, and just to be able to know that they can look to that court and see a Black woman with such with qualifications, not even it, right? It's just a great day, great moment.
One of the things that is important here, again, when you look at the fact that more than 100 and barely 120 federal Supreme Court justices, 2 African American men. When you look at women, Sandra Day O'Connor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Amy Coney Barrett. So she would be the 6th woman on the Supreme Court. And when you hear folks, explain to people who say, well, this is symbolism. No, this is one of 9. This is the highest court in the land. And even though conservatives will have a 6-3 majority on this court, her opinions still will matter decades, centuries down the road.
Most assuredly. And when people say that, and you look at, as you broke down that number, so when it's all said and done, what we're talking about is having access, opportunity to even be considered. And so it's so critical and vital, as this country is diverse, but yet you didn't see that in the highest court in the land. For 233 years, we have waited for this moment. And so those who use ideas that this was some kind of symbolism pick or not less than, all of that at the end of the day, her record speaks for herself. Her lived experience that you can just read about speaks for herself. Her presence is so very powerful. So I don't know her personally, but I almost feel like after these last reading about, I feel like I know her, right? I know the lived experience of being a Black woman and a Black and a woman in this country, and you walk in the door with both of those things and those lived experiences. So I think it all will bode well for. It may not happen immediate when it comes to some of the decisions that may be had, but she will be there for a lifetime. That's powerful.
I want to bring on Damon Hewitt. He's the President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Glad to have you on the show. She will be the first former public defender ever to be on the Supreme Court. That distinction, Damon, is very important when you think back to when Thurgood Marshall was appointed, not only being the first African American, but his vast experience in the courtroom. In fact, Judge Brown, when you look at her judicial experience, she literally has more judicial experience right now than Justices Thomas, Roberts, Kagan, and Barrett combined.
That's right, Roland. Thanks for having me again. Qualifications are really not the issue. They can't be the issue here. And anybody who tells you otherwise is leading you on, or they have a hidden agenda. But really, to pick on what Sister Melanie Campbell was talking about, it's about the lifetime, right? It's about someone who's qualified being able to serve for decades. We're in Black History Month. We're 2 years to the day of President Biden's promise, a promise he's kept. But it's important that in Black History Month, we focus on investing in Black futures, not only looking at the past, honoring the past, but building for the future. And having a highly qualified nominee who can serve for decades is critical. And people say it won't change the balance on the court right now in terms of ideology. We understand that. But we never build. You don't build a house to live in a house just for the day. You build that house for the future. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing today.
And not only that, Damon, when we begin to look at, look, things shift, they change. The reality is you have 2 justices that are over the age of 70. Thomas in Alito. No one knows, obviously, what will happen in 2024. And so even though right now conservatives hold a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court, one never knows what happens in the future. Things could shift. And so every seat absolutely matters. Brown is 51 years old. That also was a part of the calculus for Democrats because they want somebody who could be there for 30, 35, 40 years. These are appointments for life.
Without question, it's the long game. And look, the Republicans have done it for years. Two can play that game, right? But it's actually very strategic. It's highly strategic, and it's something that we have to take a look at the record. For record on the bench, we'll do that. We'll issue a report. All the civil rights legal organizations. That's what we do. But we're doing it not to critique. We're doing it to lift up the importance of the issues that we work on, the issues that we address, the issues that are important to Black America and, frankly, all of America. Because we're talking about what we want the judges, the jurisprudence, so to speak, to go. We've seen the erosion of key civil rights protections like the Voting Rights Act. It's taken a 1-2 punch. They're looking for a knockout punch in the next term. We need justices who can actually counter that, who can address it, and who can build a body of law, logic, and as we say in the legal terms, jurisprudence that is going to withstand those kinds of attacks going forward.
I want to bring in Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. She's also an attorney as well. Janice, this day, just put it in the context. You represent the organization that Dorothy Height founded. She was one of the folks who, unfortunately, was too often left out of many of the pictures and the critical decisions during the Black Freedom Movement, even though Black women played a huge role in that movement. And so put into context today.
I will do that, Roland, but first I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and for what you do each and every night to keep our community informed. Today, among other things, I was preparing to celebrate Dr. Height's birthday, which is March 24th, and I was looking at some old video clips and interviews she did at the Portrait Gallery, 20 years ago. And what struck me about it is that her first realization that her life's work would be civil rights was when, as a teenager, she wrote a paper and argued it in an oratorical contest about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. That is really what's at stake. Will we enforce civil rights statutes and laws, and will we enforce them equally so that there's real equal protection under the law? I confess I got a little emotional today. I'm not ordinarily an emotional person. But when I thought about what it meant to finally have the voice of Black women, and frankly, of Black folk, period, on the highest court of the land, it reminded me that one of the last barriers to full citizenship was removed today. And that is, if you were a Black woman, you were automatically disqualified. You were not considered Supreme Court material. That is no longer the case, and that's a reason to celebrate.
I want to go back to the history point, Melanie, and I know that people who are watching, they folks may say, yeah, okay, but no, today was important to actually show that visual. Guys, pull a video up, please, to see the visual. Here you have President Joe Biden standing there at the lectern. To his left is Vice President Kamala Harris, Black woman. Yeah. To his right is Judge Jackson. And so, again, them walking out, again, I think back to when President Lyndon Baines Johnson shocked everybody and orchestrated the appointment of Thurgood Marshall when he walked out to the Rose Garden, and the reporters were just shocked and stunned to see Thurgood Marshall falling behind him. When we think back to other historic moments in history, we, being alive at this moment, actually get to witness something that has never been done before.
Most definitely. When I saw that image, and I'm like my sister Janice, and so glad to be on here with Janice and Damon. All of the work is just to be able to just take a moment and take in something will go down in history, not just for history's sake, but to move our people that much more forward, and really and this nation forward, because we've not addressed the disparities, we've not had full access in this country to, when it comes to levels of power. And when you talk about the fact this is the highest court in the land, and no matter what, 20, 30 years down the road, they will be able to make decisions. Because what Janice said made a point that I want to lift back up, and that is we feel like this is the next, by way of how these decisions have been made and not made in the interest of the Constitution being for our people, that we now, with her confirmation, I believe that we will have that. We have not had that with Clarence Thomas. I'm just going to call it out. We have not had that. And he has been there a long time. And this will be a voice that will be in there to bring that lived experience unapologetically, I believe. And that's just a blessing. And thank President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration for all that they did to keep their word. It's a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Right.
But we're going to lift them up when they do right and fight them when they do wrong. And this was a good one today.
But Damon, on that particular point there, one doesn't know. Let's just be honest. The reality is when the person she's replacing, first of all, you look at David Souter, but before him, first of all, you got Breyer. But when you think about previous justices, in terms of when Bush appointed Souter, and all of a sudden they thought he was going to be a conservative voice. He ended up not being one. But the thing that really jumped out at me as well, to what Melody just said, when she mentioned Clarence Thomas. And so even when he was appointed, it was very interesting looking at black reaction. I remember Andrew Young telling the story of Thomas meeting with a number of civil rights people. They were there in Georgia, and it was off the record. It was very casual. There were drinks aplenty. And they really, really thought that Thomas was going to be in the mold of Thurgood Marshall. That clearly has not happened. And so put into context, Damon, for the people who say, well, all right, well, Thomas is African-American, Judge Jackson is African-American. Look, I don't understand what the difference is. No, there is a huge difference in terms of how African-Americans view these two.
Well, there's a huge difference, and I think one's record speaks for themselves, right? Justice Thomas's record speaks volumes about how he's essentially voted against the interests of racial justice time and time again, having the same experiences of people like my parents, but coming out, as Judge Jackson has observed early in her life, he comes out in a very different way. It's difficult to understand. And look, we will analyze Judge Jackson's record as well, right? We're celebrating the moment. We supported her for a circuit court nomination as well at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and the Law, but we'll also issue a report about her record because it's important that we hold everyone to this same high standard. But I do believe that what we'll find, based upon her background, based upon her qualifications, is that she is someone who is not an ideologue. She is someone who certainly is not an arch conservative cloaked as something that seems like she's not. I do have all the hope in the world and faith in the world that her record will show us something very different. I think we've already seen that in the public, and we'll see that through our analysis and reports as well.
Janice, the White House has wasted no time marshaling their forces. One of the things that we're already seeing is there are forces already aligned against her. The folks at Media Matters posted a piece earlier, I'm trying to pull it up right now, that shows that there's a major dark money group that is actually behind an effort to discredit her. Go to my computer, please, if y'all don't have it up. Then we'll try to pull this up. What the White House understands is that that these things are always a battle in terms of ensuring how the votes come down. It is 50-50 in the United States Senate. Again, you already had Manchin on record saying that he wanted Judge Childs. You had Congressman Jim Clyburn was pushing. You have Senator Lindsey Graham, who was already whining, complaining, saying that, the progressives pushed Biden far to the left, even though he voted for Brown twice. And so, so you have the plan of action right now to ensure that you're going to see money spent, ads being run, leaving no stone unturned to ensure that she gets confirmed by the United States Senate?
You know, if you look at all the objective criteria, Harvard Law School, editor of the Harvard Law Review, clerk for a Supreme Court justice, was a defense counsel, which is unheard of on the Supreme Court to have a lawyer who's been a defender, actually tried cases, something that a couple of sitting Supreme Court justices have not done much of. There is nothing objective in this woman's record to do anything but recommend her for the court. And I think it is, dare I say, hypocritical for someone who voted for her confirmation about a year ago to now say that she is a radical, that she is a leftist. That will not be borne out in her record. And I think if people just look at the objective flat facts, how can you be a woman who is the child of school teachers, one of whom who sent himself to law school after he was a father, who's got members of her family who are police officers and members of her family who have been incarcerated? She is the American experience, the quintessential American. And if that's not what we want on the Supreme Court, we are misguided. Now, politicians will say whatever they think they need to say for political advantage. But I trust that the American people will be able to cut through the noise and see this nominee for who she actually is. We are all product of our experiences, and there is nothing in her experience. The D.C. Court of Appeals is where, I won't say most, but lots of Supreme Court justices start their careers, or their last stop before they get to the Supreme Court is the D.C. Court of Appeals. And that's because lots of federal issues come before that court. If we don't want Ketanji Jackson, we don't want a Supreme Court justice. She is the only thing that disqualifies her in some people's minds is the fact that she is Black.
And of course, you already see how the Republicans are responding. It is quite laughable to see this here. Joe Biden just nominated a radical left-wing activist to serve a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court. His pick was the preferred choice of far-left special interests. Republicans will make sure voters know how radical his pick is. Jackson repeatedly ruled against the Trump administration and struck down conservative policies. Jackson is a Democrat partisan, having worked for Obama's presidential campaign and donated to Obama. Jackson has a record of defending terrorists detained at Guantanamo Bay and continued to advocate for these terrorists after she went into private practice. And so we can expect more of that, Melanie.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. They've been queuing it up even before the Judge Brown's name came out of President Biden's mouth today. They were ready by the way they were attacking just the whole notion of a Black woman. So they've been queuing up and getting ready, but so have we. And so we are going to continue. We are going to continue to push, advocate, use all our tools in our toolbox as advocates to make sure that we push to make sure that she has a fair hearing and is ultimately confirmed.
Damon.
Well, we today, put the entire U.S. Senate on notice. And my statement that we issued on behalf of the Lawyers Committee, and we saw it in the statements from the NAACP and the other organizations, we put them on notice that there must be a fair process, there must be a swift process with no games. And if you do it right, you do it fairly, I think we know how this will turn out. And, also who's put them on notice is all the sisters, all the Black women-led organizations, like the Deltas, like the Black Women's Roundtable, that have said from the beginning, this is historic, this is important, and this has to be done right. I like what I've seen from this administration so far. I give them all kudos and props, and we need to make sure the Senate follows suit.
Janice?
I think about the nominee, and her record speaks for itself. Now, I haven't studied it with a fine-tooth comb, but everything that I see is that she calls the cases as she sees them, takes the facts, applies the law, and makes a decision. I don't necessarily agree with all of her decisions, but I can certainly tell you that she follows the law. She knows the law, and she's not going to be swayed by political considerations. It just happens that she is Black. Today, we had people sign on, more than 100,000 women, organizations representing more than 100,000 women, the AME missionaries, the AME Zion missionaries, Delta Sigma Theta, Sigma Gamma Rho. You name the organizations. As you know, NCNW is a collaboration of organizations. We're in partnership with Black Women's Roundtable. Across the spectrum, degreed and no degreed, professors and house cleaners. There is no shame, there is no status, there is no class in this. We are united in support of this nominee and her getting a fair hearing before the United States Senate. If that happens, I'm confident that we will see a new day. And I think about Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court. She said, to be credible, all the pathways to leadership have to be open to all Americans equally. That's all we're trying to say. Give her the same treatment that any other qualified nominee would get. Certainly, she's more qualified than some of the more recent candidates who have ascended to the bench. Somebody says she's got 7 times as much trial experience as the last 3 combined.
All right, then. Janice Mathis, Damon Hewitt, Melanie Campbell, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank
you.
Folks, backdrop Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?